Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is A Bunch of Gamers. This is our 143rd episode of Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition. Rage across the heavens, the Endless Wanderer. I'm going to go around and have my players introduce themselves.
I'm Tyler, and I play Kyle, also known as Guards the Low. He's a Philodox of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sam. I play Cora. She's an Aruna in the Geta Fenris.
Hi, I'm Adam. I play Mark Guides the Fallen, and he's a Thurge of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sean. I play Zeb Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers. He is a Theurge of the Silent Striders.
Hello, my name's Thomas. I play Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, Lupus Galliard of the Bone Gnawers.
Hi, my name is George. I am playing William Grows-Matrices. He is a rune of the Glasswalkers.
After grueling test after test after test under the Incarnae of Mars Nerigal, the Pax finally gained an audience with the Great Spirit of War, learning the Spirit's opinions on the child and on the star, ready for war, and ready to howl out. The Pax then were gifted many gifts and many fetishes and talents as a reward for their constant struggle. Now the Pax begin to move out of the realm of Nerigal and move on to the next Incarnae. And so you rise up from Nerigal's realm back into the ethereal sky, ready to move on. How would you like to proceed? What would you like to do?
We've been rejuvenated thanks to Mars, so we can go ahead and use our gift, ride the solar winds.
And I believe our three that were cursed with uber depression are no longer uber depressed, just normally werewolf depressed now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So we could head out to Maros, was it? Pluto, right?
Yep, Pluto.
Okay.
Using ride the solar winds.
Alright,
And it's a Gnosis point, roll wit alertness diff 7.
And who's holding the kid? Because they need an extra success at least.
Do we have to point it out now or after we
Yes.
Now?
Now.
roll? Okay.
Mark will take the kid.
Alright, make your rolls, everyone.
All right.
Great time to use mulligans at the start of the session.
Oh boy. I can hear curse.
So can I just hop on someone else's?
You can.
My 4 like I would prefer to do that with my 4 dice. Like I don't.
I'm gonna jump on the gift wagon here.
All right.
Dimitri.
I'm gonna have to use my mulligan.
God damn,
There we
Zebulon.
go.
Yes, so Zeb or Dimitri is like, no, grabbed one of you.
Should have given it to
Right.
Zeb. Shit.
Right. So Dimitri.
Look, we're only going as fast as the slowest person anyway.
Yeah, which is William, I think.
Yeah. Nope, not at all.
Not. So yeah, it's gonna be, we take the worst result, so you're going with Dimitri. So you guys can still grab others, but you will be going slower. So Mark is being grabbed by Zeb along with the child.
Thank you.
Dimitri is grabbing Kyle. Cora is flying her damn self. And William is just like, just keep breathing. That's the key. As you start launching through and start moving along the solar winds. Okay. As you continue on, you move for days now. As you reach the second day and you start crossing the asteroid fields. Moving through as you hear the horrid snarls across the field. As you hear the slamming of feet and you leave the asteroid field just in time as you see a giant rabid-looking wolf leaping and snapping as if to catch you in its jaws before you continue out into the great unknown. You then travel, and then you will need Gnosis to feed yourself every, I believe it is every 3 days. So you will need to spend 3 points of Gnosis as you travel for 10 days.
Starting to regret using my Gnosis for solar winds.
As
I'm at 0 now.
the light of Katanka's Sonak goes dimmer, and dimmer. You see the great gas giants flying past you. And then you see the strange, almost barbell-like shaped planet, gray and crimson hue with polar ice caps until you get closer and you realize that it was an illusion. It is still a round world with a moon nearly the same size as it. And you have reached the realm of Meros. As you see various spirits of color and light, of imagination, of wonder, the wildlings laughing and playing as they create wild storms that seem to shift the stones and turn them into brand new things before they dissolve into unreality. You must make your way through this storm of playing spirits to reach the planet of Meros. And it cannot be guaranteed that your flesh will survive. How do you wish to proceed?
I think going through it is the best course, because we're seeking knowledge, no matter the cost. There doesn't look to be any way around it, correct?
Like it's an ebbing and flowing storm of them. So gaps sometimes form and then close back up. It's a question of how fast you can get through.
Okay.
Okay, sounds like there's no pattern to it. We just have to go through.
It sounds like soak rolls, so maybe if we have gifts that help us with that, activate them now.
Speaking of which, I do happen to have one that could help with that.
Because I was going to spend a Gnosis to activate Luna's armor.
I do have Song of Heroes that I could use to boost everybody's stamina, but I'd be using my last 2 points of Gnosis.
Is it soak that we're looking for, or speed? Because if it's speed to get through, then...
I'm kind of anticipating some of us might take hits, and I'm kind of anticipating I might be the ones taking a hit based on my earlier rolls, so I'm kind of prepping myself.
If it's speed, I could use the gift to boost our dexterity, and we could approach it that way.
I like that idea, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the way I'm thinking about it is if this is similar to like the Wild Realm or I forget what the realm was called, but if things are just shape-shifting constantly, we don't really have control over it, and we just kind of have to go with the flow. If we just zoom through, then the faster in, the faster out. We don't get hit nearly as much.
I'm still going to spend that Gnosis, though.
I would just maybe consider, George, if there are periods of calm and then extreme turbulence and violence, right? And that there's something to be said for what Adam is doing right now, which is things to make the body harder, but moving in like Hispo, or form that's both tough and graceful, like sacrificing anything for the truth is well and good, but it's also about getting to the destination at the end of the quest to get to the truth. So I don't necessarily know if you need to sledgehammer through it, but and Keegan, maybe this is a clarification piece. If it is so violent and unchanging that it'd be hopelessly stupid to attempt to navigate through this with any type of finesse, then fine. But it sounded to me like there could still be a way to instinctually move through it a little bit more gracefully than just the sledgehammer approach.
Yes, you could try and use your athletics to try and move through pockets and take as little hits as possible. You could do the straightforward approach and deal with the consequences there, because it might not be damaged. Like I said, what these spirits seem to be doing is changing things and shifting things.
Okay. It's a misunderstanding on my part.
Like
I
things are changing.
I won't spend that then.
Okay. And there's the solar winds once again. So if you wanted to try and spend Gnosis for someone to like hyperspeed through, or you could do anything like trying to talk to them. That's always an option, but you're still gonna have to deal with the swarm. I'm leaving it open to you guys to deal with.
So my solution was what Sean was saying, is using the speed and dip, dodge, ducking, and diving through. It wasn't like brute force, but it was just like get in, get out. So that was my thought process.
He did bring up too that. I'm sorry.
I was like, the solar winds is a good idea, but I don't have Gnosis for that anymore, and I'm open to other ideas.
I was gonna work off that idea and do Song of Heroes so that we could approach it with dexterity and finesse.
Mm-hmm.
And Hispo form, definitely what Sean brought up is that tough, speedy kind of in between form that would be best for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. With
So I think-
that in mind, then I'll go ahead and shift into Hispo and use 2 Gnosis to activate Song of Heroes and spend about 10 minutes or so recalling a story where speed and swiftness won the day for the Garu. And it looks like for every 2 successes, that is 1 point towards a single ability.
That ability would likely be athletics.
Yeah.
Athletics. Okay. I guess I was thinking attributes when I was getting ready to roll, but looks like ability, so speed and athletics. Yeah.
Okay. Make your roll first, Dimitri. Not enough.
Not enough, no.
Do you want to spend a mulligan chip?
I think I'm going to, since I used the last of my Gnosis on this.
No dice.
That's okay.
The story was inspiring, just not inspiring enough.
Mark, do you want to hand the baby over to me? I've got, if we're doing like Dex Athletics rolls, then I'm sitting at 11.
It'd be best if you took the child. Yeah.
And how are you carrying the child? Are you going to be in Hispo? Are you going to be
in... I was thinking Hispo. I was thinking Hispo because, one, it's bigger and I can more easily kind of carry him by the scruff like I did before.
What's the difficulty?
It is going to be Diff 6. Keep your successes in mind, because they will be very important for the next roll. So next, subtract your successes from 10. That will be the difficulty of your willpower roll.
Yep, Zeb.
Ooh,
A
all
botch,
right.
and Mark got 0.
Perfect. So, Mark, you have, at least for the time being, gained a Metis deformity. You have gained the Metis deformity of no tail. For the time being, you take a +1 penalty to all social situations in Lupus, Hispo, or Krynos, and you'll take a +1 difficulty to all dexterity rolls for the same reason, as you can't use your tail to balance yourself.
Ah! As I look back and see just a little stub. Just.
Zeb, your Hispo form goes away. You are forced into Krynos, and everyone notices that your Krynos form has turned dark, black. It thins out a lot as they hear the bones crunching together. As skin retracts, your teeth fall out one by one, and you now have the form of a were-raven.
For the record, did not get uglier.
You're an ugly-ass were-raven. Yeah,
Yes.
You look like you're molting constantly.
Excellent.
And so, you guys reach to the other side, hop out, as you see this strange were-raven and this strange new Krynos-born Garu in front of you.
Zeb? Mark?
I lost my tail.
Yeah,
Everything is under control.
beg to differ.
Well, at least your mind's still intact, right, guys? Maybe?
Sure.
I don't think that's an important question right now.
As you're on the
Alright,
other
well.
side of the storm, as you see a couple wildlings essentially point and laugh at their handiwork as they move away in a flow of chaos.
At the very least, nobody was hurt.
That's true. The child's safe.
Fair enough.
Oh, onward.
As you start moving down, you reach the planet's surface. It is dry and desolate. There seems to be almost no indication of where to go. The dust floats up and into the heavens. It's quiet, dim, and dark.
Let's just start walking in a direction and hope that it's the right one.
Well, I was gonna think, can we search around the area real quick to see if there's any sort of tracks or disturbances?
Sure, give me a intelligence survival perception survival or perception primal urge, whichever is higher.
Thank God I have primal urge. And it's just diff 6?
We're gonna go diff 8.
Oh, can I use a willpower on this?
Sure can.
Sweet. Wow, okay. I'll take it. 3.
Alright, so you get a couple smells. The smells are old and tracks everywhere. So it seems like someone had wandered and come on and off this planet several times. The most recent smell seems to be off planet. You can give me an intelligence occult, please.
And occult. Okay, what's the diff?
Gonna go diff 7.
Alright. I'll use another willpower on this one if that's okay.
Ready?
I don't have occult, which is why I used 9.
Got it. As it kind of comes to you, you remember some of the lessons from the Stargazers before you left on this journey. And specifically, those lessons about Meros spoke about how this Incarnae is sometimes called the Wanderer. And just as his planet wanders between different positions in the solar system, the Incarnae has been known to leave his planet and wander as well.
Alright, well, I've got Pluto's scent, so if they're off planet, I can possibly try and track them. Or can I point out the scent to my PAX tracker, Dimitri? Keegan, can I point out the scent to Dimitri?
You can.
And then have them possibly track them off planet?
I can give it a try, and I'll shift into Lupus form in order to do that.
Alright. Perception primal urge.
And then the difficulty is 8, and then
It was 8, and so in Lupus it
Was
should be
8.
6.
yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Right. Nothing.
Yeah, Dimitri will seem to follow it for a few moments, and then be like, I lost it.
Okay. Then let's go towards this direction, whichever one it is. But out of character, I was thinking the second option for me was to have Zeb ask the spirits which way the Wanderer might have gone. Because if it's the relentless pursuit, we have the start of the trail, and we just keep pursuing that trail forward, not just aimlessly wander. That's my thought process.
No, fair enough. Are there spirits nearby to speak with still, Keegan? Or have they skittered away?
You'll have to go higher again to talk to the wild spirits and leave the planet's surface level at least.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah,
we would
that's
technically be going outside anyway, because that's the path that I found the Wanderer to have been. They were leaving.
No, we go up, we see what they've seen, and no, I think you're right on, George. I just wanted to know where we needed to go to talk to more spirits.
Okay.
We just need to go up.
Yep. Leave the planet again.
Yeah. Just recalling that there might be a little bit of risk getting too close to these suckers to twist your body once more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine.
Or Zeb's body. Who knows what
Or
the
Zeb's
Zeb
body.
into next.
Zeb's body's the body is transitory.
I'm cool with it. Yeah.
Yep,
Like,
I'm cool with it.
this is kind of part of the wandering, I guess. I
Right.
just really feel that if it's like way too far out there, like, hey, just leave the greater Pluto area. And it's like, I don't know, we kind of came here. We could wait. But again, I'm fine with this plan.
Okay. We'll fly back up. And William, you tell me what you want me to ask, and I can always put a spin on it if we think it might work.
Okay. Zeb, would it be possible to ask the spirits if they saw the Pluto leaving the planet, and if so, which direction that they traveled in?
I think that's a pretty direct and to the point. And I guess to that end, Keegan, I guess however close we need to be able to call out to one of these.
So you get as close as possible, and you call out as some of the spirits laugh as one tells you that it's a simple process. All you have to do is go I to the 5th times -2i plus 33 I squared. Do that and go that many degrees from the direction you're facing, and you will find the path of the Wanderer.
I mean, we're dealing with imaginary numbers, so I know it's an actual math problem.
Oh no, I get imaginary numbers, wildlings. All right, who's
Pi to
making
the
the
fourth is
academics
one.
roll?
I could do the academics roll. What's the difficulty?
We're gonna go 7.
7.
So, you put together that imaginary numbers can be used in electrical engineering to figure out frequency. It might be that you have to move in a very specific way to find a frequency within your body that will allow you to see the trail of the Wanderer. And that would be an intelligence science roll.
Okay. I'll roll that because George has no idea.
Alright, so you have a good idea, and what you have to do is, because you are moving almost through with thought in the ethereal realm, you have to bounce back and forth, moving forward at half an inch back and forth initially, then a full inch back and forth, while continuing to move forward and oscillate between those two distances, and that should reveal the path ahead of you.
And it's directly ahead, so I think I know how to get there, guys. You're gonna have to, and I'll tell them exactly how to jump back and forth and move forward, and then just move forward.
Alright, that will be some body control, so we're gonna need a stamina athletics, diff 9, because you have to keep that all in your brain. And Cora,
Stam athletics.
And Cora, you will need 2 successes because you have to move the child at the exact same frequency.
May I expend a willpower on this?
You may.
Thank you.
I'm also going to spend a willpower.
Me too.
Same.
I guess I should spend another willpower as well.
Look at Cora making it. Look at Kyle not making it.
Excuse me, I will use my Lagomorph spoon to turn one of those ones.
Oh,
Which means with the willpower I spent, I made
fair.
it.
You're right. Mark didn't need to use willpower at all. Jesus Christ.
But that's a 5 right there, guys. Damn. Why do you guys have such a hard time with this?
Yeah, right.
He
Mark
just
is
said go
like,
between these 2
Where's
points.
your tail?
Yeah, Mark's like, even without a tail.
He's vibrating in place.
How much freaking coffee did you have, Mark?
It's not a competition, Mark. It's
And I'm
always a
in his
competition,
form.
Cora.
You'd see this vibrating giant hispo form, Mark, just...
As you see this kind of twisting path that loops, blinks out of existence, and then blinks back into existence at the very edge of your perception. However, because of this oscillation, the wild spirits seem to vanish.
Does that mean that we can kind of like flash this and just like go through?
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
It seems like to me. Let's try it.
Let's
You move through, no chaos energies, no warping. Though things seem to get kind of weird as Zeb's moving, and you notice that one of Zeb's arms, thanks to the frequency and the constant shifting, he has one arm as a Krynos Garu arm, the other arm is still a winged Korax Krynos arm. 2 of his toes on each foot are Krynos Garu claws, and 1 giant Korax Krynos claw. And he's starting to grow molars in the back of his beak, but the rest of the beak is still very beakish, though it's starting to get the same kind of a soft consistency of a dog muzzle, while still being a bird beak.
And the icing on the cake is he's got wolf ears.
He's got wolf ears and 1 eye. What are you all staring at?
What, you think this is the weirdest thing you've ever seen?
As you start
Keegan really
moving
took the ugliness challenge to heart. Nice stuff. What is the verbal way we will depict appearance -1?
as You start moving through. You move through as you get closer and closer to the trail. As the trail bifurcates, and then you notice that it bifurcates again along both bifurcations. Sometimes they crisscross, sometimes they re-merge as they spread out nearly infinitely. How would you like to proceed?
Well, I mean, Wanderer's got to come back together at some point, so if we follow one, we might come across both parts eventually?
Well, if it's multiple bifurcations, so it's one turning into two, and then those two turning into four.
The idea remains the same.
Yeah. So my idea is if they're crossing again and again, we can split up. But is it going in one direction, Keegan, or is it like all over?
It's starting to spread out. Like the further you go out, the more it's very clearly starting to spread, at least at your current vibration levels.
Okay. So is there a path that matches our current vibrations?
That's what I'm saying. All these paths match your current vibrations.
Gotcha.
They might also radiate at different frequencies, but you're not sure. It's for you to decide. And then you have to give me hilarious descriptions of how you plan on vibrating.
Well, they're all the same vibration, but they could be different frequencies?
Potentially.
I'm trying to
they're at
decide.
They're at least in a frequency that you can detect, but they could be at different frequencies, just like how light works.
I'm almost thinking like this is a pattern web approach. Am I wrong in thinking that?
You mean like the pattern web that you would normally go in the Umbra, like for the Weaver's domain, where certain vibrations travel through it to different places? Okay.
Yeah.
It stands to reason then that, just like Keegan said, if you change the vibration, then you might get pulled on a different path. It's the same logic, I think. You're creating a different... Yeah, you change yourself and maybe you might find yourself getting pulled or attracted to the similar vibration, like you said.
Okay. So...
Hold your breath and flex really hard.
Yeah, the way you're making it sound too is that I have to change the vibration or the frequency that I'm oscillating at, which doesn't line up with what the spirit said. It's maintaining a very specific oscillation will get me to the Wanderer. So is it going to be another int academics to find out?
Yeah, make an int, actually be int science.
Int science, okay. Diff 7 again?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, you're kind of picking up something. You're getting more from that. You could maybe change your frequency, and that might help. That would be one, and that would be a possibly passing through and trying to use your own kinesthetic awareness, which would be just a straight stamina check to feel the vibrations and try and match yourself to those vibrations to potentially block out other paths. Or it could be something called a BOGO sort, which is essentially a choose a random path, did it work? No, and continue on and go back and continue that process of elimination by going down branches that way, which seems in line with the seeming randomness and unkept nature of the wild that Mero seems to keep with him.
Okay. I like the first option, and the second option, the way I can see it is we split up and try multiple paths and then meet back here if they don't work, and then pick more paths. So I want to try the first option where I oscillate and try and break down or reduce the amount of options to begin with, and then go from there.
All right, that is difficulty. That's going to be difficulty 8.
And then it's just int science again.
That's just stamina for the oscillation, because you're going to sit in the path and feel it through your body.
Gotcha.
To try and discern it.
Okay, same roll, because I'm still in Hispo.
All right. So you kind of get it. So you now know that you need to do the exact same oscillation, but you have to do it with half an inch, and you have to do a full oscillation in less than half a second. And then you have to slow yourself down, for a full 2 seconds to oscillate between an inch, and then half a second, half an inch oscillation, so on and so forth.
Okay. I will turn to the group and repeat all of that to them and let them know that we need to keep up this specific oscillation and we'll see less branching paths to find the wanderer.
Alrighty.
Great. As you start to do that, you start to see the paths kind of change and shift as you notice that the paths on the left side are thinner than the ones on the right side. So the leftmost path is almost a razor-thin tight wire, and the rightmost path is almost like a super highway in width.
So 2 options. The first being on the left is thin, and then the right being very thick. I think I want to go the left path, and the reason being, and you guys can correct my thought process if I'm wrong, is that the thin path is very specific. We have to follow that path, just like we have been. Whereas the right, it's more room for error, possibly, or it's wider, and it might not get us to where we need to go.
I think you should have Cora kick you in the testicles, and you attack the Razor's Edge path, the one that could mean your certain death, because that's what it might come down to.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was thinking the left path then. So then let's go down the left path.
No kick, though?
No kick.
All right.
Shame.
Alright, so you're going down the thin one. As you try and follow the thin one, I'm going to have you roll Dexterity Athletics, William, difficulty 8.
There we go.
As you start tight rope walking in Hispo along the way, moving forward step by step, as you start moving off and you start passing some of Uranus's moons, before you see a man in a gray cloak of Middle Eastern descent walking, a gray ashwood staff in hand, a claw adorning it with a silver disc. He has beautiful gold earrings, and his eyes a shining emerald.
Greetings there.
Greetings. As he continues to walk.
Yeah, I'll just keep walking with them, continuing my oscillations.
Okay.
My name is William. Me and my group here are trying to find Pluto. You wouldn't happen to know where they are? Or perhaps, can I ask your name?
I'm Meros.
Just the spirit we're looking for.
Oh?
Our group here is on a quest for wisdom and knowledge, and we seek your counsel and your guidance, and I'm glad we ran into you.
Ah. And what guidance do you think I could give? He asks, his eyes kind of gleaming.
The one that we are seeking specifically is of this child here. This child born of 2 metis, but is made perfect and has multiple multiple stories told that they would bring the end with them. Whether they fight with us or fight against us, we do not know.
I'm not sure I know either. It is a child of destiny, though. You can see fate's strands about it.
So if we were to look further for this child's future, where would we need to continue looking, if you do not know?
Why do you think you can control fate? If you try and change the child's fate, the child will just simply disappear from you.
We're not looking to control the fate, we are just looking to understand the path that this child is on.
If people could understand fate, well, they would be in a far different place than they could ever be, but fate never shows her hand until the final card is played, son.
Well, then we'll just keep looking until the very end.
Well, there you go. Because the end is coming. Didn't you know? Look at that, as he points to Anthelios upon the horizon.
That was the second thing that we were looking to question you and the other planetary Incarnae about.
Oh.
What do you know about Anthelios?
I know it's the embodiment of the apocalypse here in the ethereal realm, but about time.
What do you mean by about time?
Why should I regret it coming? Isn't it, I see a road to another future, a new frequency, a new beginning. Death represents a doorway to great transformation, and the apocalypse is just an enabler of a new beginning. With lots of death, but lots of new chances. I think that it's time to embrace the inevitability of these final days, and I don't understand why you lot don't do the same. It's what the Garu were created for, wasn't it? To give the world new life through their sacrifice?
That's correct. Through us, we are supposed to protect the world and what we can.
Through you, you're supposed to die. That's it. Some of you might survive. I can't see that far, and I don't know what Gaia's plan is, but what makes you think your blood shed ain't gonna make new flowers grow? What makes you think your bones won't build huts for your children after? Makes you think that the rot of your fur and the spilling of your guts won't make fresh soil to revive your mother?
That is not my worry. I know we are all going to die, and the way you phrase it is that at the end of the apocalypse, we would be victorious. A new birth of society would come about for the betterment of everyone, but it would be the end of what we currently know it as.
Correct. Like I said, embrace uncertainty. If Gaia wanted you to know everything about this child's destiny, or it was certain whose side it would take, she would have told you. Ain't you all supposed to be of the wild? At least a little bit? Changing your forms? Yet you're always clinging to certainty, clinging to create your own stasis, hold up status quos, and call it revolution. One of the biggest jokes I was ever played.
It is great that we did run into you then. You provided us much wisdom that we have forgotten, for we were raised on this, but then the weaver ingrained itself in us, and we need to look back at who we truly are. Embrace the wild, embrace the uncertainty, but also keep hold of the few things that we can, and be a combination of things.
Maybe. It ain't for me to say. It's your actions that'll speak whether you learned or not.
If I might ask, Great One, I was found guilty of hubris, of being foolish enough to believe that I was the hero of my story, and I have learned the valuable lesson that it is okay to be but a functionary. I think you hit upon something, that everyone is so willing to kill for Gaia, and everyone is so willing to die to defeat the worm, that just plain dying became anathema, and that maybe, as you say, we just exist to exist, and then we're gone. For the child, which suddenly has great purpose, there are those that would kill it outright out of fear, and wouldn't allow the cycle to complete itself. And we're at a crossroads to make sure that we can protect that fate. For as William said, I think we became comfortable with what we knew, and ceased to quest to understand more based off of only the things that were already told to us. I don't know how we can break our compatriots free of that fear, to understand that this will all keep going, rather than being swallowed into nothingness.
Maybe. What you gotta do what you gotta. Yell, shout. You might not be the only hero in your story, but you can be a hero in your story. You've already protected this little rascal as he kind of tickles the baby Krynos' feet with his staff, and it laughs enough to grab Cora by the ear and yank with Krynos' strength as she goes, "Going down!" That was heroic. Don't worry, they're all handsy at that age. Now, but you gotta stand up for what's right. Let me see. Walks over, looks each of you deeply in your eyes. Yeah, that's what I thought. That is what I thought. You have a guiding star. You didn't have to come up here for that. There was one in your own lives who stood up for what he believed in, damned the consequences. Be more like him in these dark days. Be a light. Hide the child if you have to, but sometimes you do have to stand up and say, I will stand up for what's right. These are my thoughts. These are my beliefs. This is the line I won't cross. And if you're too cowardly to do that, Rourke will teach you.
Wormherder knew he would die, and that would be the end of it, and that he had no hope to keep going, and that his own people wouldn't come to help him because they felt that what his child was an abomination, and he did it anyway.
And he died doing what he believed, whether that was right or wrong. He did everything to protect his child to the best of his abilities, from what I understand. Are you going to do the same?
I don't think there's a single doubt that I speak for everyone here that we will.
There you go. Embrace inevitability. But be smart about it. Play your cards. Play the games you need to if you have to. And break the rules when you have to. Stop playing when it stops working. Do what you have to do what you think is right. And then maybe your graves will be the foundation for the next cycle.
Thank you, Pluto. Anybody else have questions that I might have missed? Or do you have questions that you would just like answered?
I have a question about others that have suffered. Something has happened beyond the second veil that also would be construed as an end. Have I condemned many to their ultimate destruction? Is there anything that can be done for them?
Oh, Gaia Almighty, I should get a needle to pop that fat head of yours, thinking so highly of yourself.
Even a little.
It was gonna be. Did you condemn them? No, some have found interesting new homes. Some continue to wander. And some have found a silence that they were afraid to come, but knew was always gonna be there. And some things have been freed that you have yet to see.
You mentioned earlier the bedrock or something for the next cycle. Do you believe that we have been, well, not we, but all of this has been through this before? Or that this is just the beginning of the start of that?
Oh, it's been through it in some form or another before. The worms destroyed things even before that its functions had been corrupted. Perhaps it'll even destroy the chains of its own prison in the ending of this cycle. One can hope. Hopefully get itself back together. But why do you think the Dragon Kings disappeared? The dinosaurs went extinct. Why do you think the world is round and no longer flat upon a sea of chaos?
I suppose that from the way the apocalypse has been talked about, that I had assumed that it was the end not just for humanity or Garu, but for everything here. Incarnae, spirits, all.
There are many who believe that, even among the Incarnae. Katanka Sonak believes that his life will be snuffed out, and that his Celestian will die along with him. I know that there are some amongst the lizard men and the Makole who believe that this cycle is different and nothing will grow again, but I don't think so. I think if the worm corrupts enough, the threads of the weaver will die, and the wild will simply shift and take a new, maybe spit out another weaver, a new worm, and that the end of us will just be the beginning to another.
Acts are hushed with solemn silence.
Anyway, this frequency bores me. Y'all have a nice trip. As he turns to light, and then the light fades in a flash.
Pluto's an interesting spirit. I think it's time we return home.
I think so too.
And I think it's no longer time to hide from those that wish to kill this child, but instead stand up, recruit others, and fight this inevitable war that's going to come.
I don't think there's any disagreement in that a stand will be made, but we need to be smart about it. It is just us two packs and a pup.
For now. I'm sure there are plenty that would wish to see this child grow.
But to what ends?
Honestly, doesn't matter to me. This child is going to usher in a new era, and it's going to be better whether this child fights for us or for the worm.
The child will do what the child will do, whether or not it ushers in a new era. Even if Meros believes that the threads of fate are upon it, of course they are. Look how the nation is divided over this. Whether the child chooses to follow those threads is up to the child.
And
That's
remember,
what
the
I
previous
mean.
advice we had is to let that child grow and be raised and be a child. Because to your point that you'd made to me before, William, there's risk to force the child to be anything. And for us to fight a civil war would only lead, I think, for people to entrench themselves even harder to say, see what the child has caused? Rather than giving the child some time and exposure away, maybe among the Pharaoh, just to grow.
And though we may risk being heroes among the nation, certainly we can be heroes for this child. It is our place to give them at least the opportunity to find out what they are themselves.
I do not question all of this. It is more, if it's just the 6 of us and this child, then there's not much we can do besides protect the child. But we can recruit others, bring them to our side. We can even stand up to those that wish to see the child killed and change their mind, because their judgment is clouded. They were not granted the wisdom that we have from the planetary Incarnae. We can be the vessel or vessels to bring this knowledge to the Garu society as a whole, and let them make their own decisions then.
I think that is one argument to make. If we are to stand up and proclaim that we are the protectors of this child, then it's politics that we're going to need to play. And yes, invoking the name of these Incarnate will be extremely helpful with some Garu, and with others it will carry no weight at all. How we choose to move forward with them, how we choose to convince, it will be entirely political and entirely based on the Garu to which we are speaking. But I think, were we to do that, it would be enough just to gain breathing room for the child, enough that perhaps they would not be sought out so much as to put the Pharaoh in danger, any more so than they already are.
Our journey back will give us time to discuss it. Our journey back will also give us time to spend with the child. I say we take advantage of that.
Well, this is also the end of our journey. Would we like to name this child?
I don't know. A name for the child as far as I can see, as he looks over to Cora, struggling with it. Fenris's Bane.
Man, does that have
Funny,
real
funny.
negative connotations on which
Yeah,
side
absolutely
he chooses?
not.
I say with a smile sarcastically, jokingly, poking at Cora.
Funny, Cora says around little baby Garu, hands exploring faces. Did you know kids like to do that? They love sticking their hands in your mouth.
Yeah, and this one has claws.
Yeah.
Razor sharp claws.
It's a fun time.
Mark will transform into Krynos and kind of head over to the child and kind of do the, "Ooh, hey, look at there," kind of play with his fingers.
I feel like if we're going to pick a name for them, that we should get to know their personality first, get to know them as an individual, and pick a name based off of that.
I agree.
I concur as well. Who's your little Krynos? Who's your little Krynos?
I will not go against the group as a whole, but I stand that we should name this child either now or when we finally make it back to Earth.
I think a fitting name would be one that honors their parents,
I agree.
as well as them, their personality-wise, but I think one of their names at least should honor their parents and the struggle that they faced to bring them into this world.
All right. So you guys have to travel back. You'll get to use gravity. As no one has gnosis, or specifically, I don't think there's enough gnosis to carry everyone via the solar winds.
Yeah,
But some
I've got
people are
none.
probably going to be taking some bashing damage that you can't regen from starvation.
Yeah.
So are we out of frequency now, or is he's the one that just left? the
Yeah, he left.
frequency?
He changed his frequency.
Can we cease oscillating?
Yeah.
Why
yeah.
don't we go back to the monastery?
I assume that's where we were gonna end to then cross back into the
Right.
physical.
Yeah.
And I think speaking with the monks there would be good.
And
Plus
consider.
eating.
Yeah. Might be the long way though, because of our gnosis count at the moment. So.
So it's in science diff 6 to use the gravity of the sun to pull you closer.
I can do this, guys.
All right. To get back to the gateway, it takes 18 days.
Oh, jeez.
So
Okay.
that means I'll calculate the
6 bashing.
6 bashing, or whatever you don't take off it with Gnosis. So you can spend Gnosis, and whatever's left is bashing damage from hunger.
Cool. Not incapacitated yet.
Kyle will spend his last 2 gnosis on that.
Okay, so 4 bashing.
I will spend the 5 gnosis I have and take 1 bashing.
All right,
I will also take 1 bashing.
I'm a hungry boy.
perfect. Who has the lowest dex stealth?
Oh wait, no, I'm the Krynos.
I've got
That means the difficulty's up.
I have 6.
stealth, and I'm still in technically Hispo since I haven't changed. 6, 7.
Oh,
I'm still in lupus.
so 6. 6 seems like it's the lowest right now. Kyle, what's yours?
6 in lupus.
Okay, and Zebulon?
9 in lupus.
Okay, so who of the 6s wishes to roll?
Don't
Actually,
let
it'd be
me
the one
do
with
it.
It's the one with the highest difficulty, so if you're still in Krynos.
I don't trust me.
That's a shame. You said you were in Krynos.
Yes, I was.
So you're the
I
most
can give it a
obvious
shot.
person. No, he's the most obvious one.
Yeah,
He's the
I'll do
most-
it.
Okay.
He is the most obvious one, so he has to do it because he's rolling for the group. So it will be diff 7.
Have the Metis deformities gone away?
Yes, after the few days, you're all finally back to normal.
Okay.
2
2
successes.
successes.
Yay!
You're
Because
able
I
to
typed wrong.
collect everyone and push them into an asteroid. As you see a massive dragon crafted of black hole and star stuff flying through the air with a black spiral dancer upon its back and flanked by ghosts helping to control the thing as they are flying through the ethereal realm searching for you.
Seems anybody's going to the ends of all of creation for this child.
They fly over and you're able to continue moving. As you finally get to the gateway and you find yourself back in the monastery. You are greeted by the monks. Welcome back. Was the journey fruitful?
Very much so.
I'm pleased. Please, come.
It was fruitful in knowledge, but not fruitful in food.
Yeah, we will have food as Altair comes by the elder of the Karen as he hands out food of spirit stuff that lets you start regenerating your bashing damage, and it regains you all a single piece of gnosis.
Thank you for your hospitality.
What do you plan to do with the child, if you don't mind my asking?
Are we agreed on what we talked about? And Kyle will look at everyone.
I do believe so.
Mark will shake his head in agreement.
Then, in some form, we will announce that we have the child, explain what happened in Colorado, and I suppose essentially challenge the nation and try and convince them that this is the right thing to do to keep the child safe.
Then may I give you a suggestion?
Please.
Call a concordant. That'll be more difficult, but it is important. You will have to get 5 elders of different tribes to agree. But it means all the Garu will have to converge to discuss. You plant your flag there, even if the child is not with you. You have a greater chance of possibly finding allies quickly and shattering your enemies with well-timed maneuvers.
I think that's a wise suggestion.
You can stay here another day if you so choose. We can give you more food and it'll help replenish some of your gnosis. I feel that the journey will be difficult. We have seen ripples in the ethereal realm. The worm is coming.
Your hospitality would be very much appreciated. we should get as much rest as we can for the future. We might not have much left.
And the child needs rest too.
That they do. It has been quite some time. Here, we sent some to manifest in the physical world, and we have brought formula.
Thank you very much. Aura, may I? And Mark will gesture for the child.
Of course. She'll hand him over gently. Or because she's still in his spo, she'll set him down, you know?
Yeah.
And then Mark will kind of hand him the formula bottle instead of picking him up.
As the child, ravenously drinks, they grab a finger and they pull. It is very painful. While you're all sitting around, then another stargazer arrives by the name of Walks the Stars. Greetings. Looks over at Kyle and Mark, my former brothers.
Greetings, Walks the... Was it Walks the Stars or Walks Among the Stars?
Walks the Stars.
Okay. Greetings, Walk the Stars.
We have seen some of the gateways rippling, and the worm has been trying to drill out of Malfeas. The outer realm seems to grow closer to the near realms with this latest change. The Umbra is changing.
We might have caught on our tail end of the journey, some of that change.
I am not surprised. It is another piece that you can bring, and the Thurges can discuss. But I came to warn all of you of that, and to warn you that a former friend of yours had been seen at the Karen you all visited in LA.
Which friend would that be?
Former, I believe. She used to go by the name Pillar of Questions.
Ah.
I'm not familiar with this Garu. Or friend.
You remember the black spiral from the raid that betrayed the abomination shapeshifter?
That one.
Her. Traitor.
Our fallen packmate.
It seems she was able to maneuver the Bone Gnars into a trap. Seems that Karen has fallen. Several survived and were able to escape, but I know that they lost their elder who opened the moon bridge so that the young ones could escape to nearby Karens.
Thank you for bringing us this news, as terrible as it is.
I'm sorry that you had to find out after, such an amazing journey.
Unfortunately, time does not stop moving forward when we are on our journeys.
That is true enough. True enough. Shall we send you forward? We have moon bridges that lead to nearly any continent. They're not usually near any Karens, but I assume there are some Karens you'd be more interested in speaking to the elders first than others.
You'd be correct, but we should probably discuss amongst ourselves how best we wish to proceed with that, specifically because it may not be worth the risk to enter any cairn, especially if the ones that we've recently visited are likely to fall. And further, because we do not want to bring the wrath of the protectors of Gaia onto any cairn before we have called for the Concord.
That is understandable, but it might be difficult to find elders outside of a cairn. But
no, you're right. I mean instead to say that we may want to send spirits or speak to people as go-betweens outside of said cairns. Particularly for the elders that we are already familiar with and will likely want this decided perhaps even one way or the other.
Understood. I'll let you decide, though. We'll leave you to have a restful night. As the stargazers leave and you're all kind of in your kind of big room meant for all of you to kind of just sleep about.
Kyle, you bring up a good point. We don't want to attract unwanted attention to the cairns. So utilizing a spirit or possibly a few of the Korax as messengers would be very helpful and beneficial. But I do think that we should, at some point, exit the Umbra soon.
I agree. I believe reaching out to the Korax to contact the elders we want to propose this concordant to is probably our best option without revealing our movements to our enemies. But the next question on my mind is, which elders do we want to reach out to?
someone that was an ally of Malcolm and or Snow. So the first one that comes to mind is Agatha, your friend?
I thought of Agatha first as well, because that's where Malcolm spent a lot of his time.
I wanted to revise one thing that you put forward, Kyle, and that's we need to tell everyone involved that we've hidden the child. The child is safe. Tend to do everything that needs to be done to keep that child safe. Right? Woe unto you that would stand against that. And therefore the concordant would occur. We could gather support, and we're not putting risk every time the child is being moved. It's just us, right? And therefore, if we're killed, again, the child is still safe. If we're killed and the child is with us, then the child is also dead, or the child falls to the worm. There are too many people or too many other parties now involved that are too potent for us to just carry the child around like that. And I think the fair idea then holds true to keep the child hidden while we do what we need to do. And messengers is probably a very good way if we're worried about on site being killed by people that'd be looking out for us. Clearly a couple immediately off the list are Sacred Stone. No. Steel Mountain, also a no. Any place that the Protectors of Gaia, so all the places we went to in the Northwest were a no-go. And clearly now so is LA. There might be the Cairn off continent, again, where the messengers, the first two that came forward and told us to go on this journey. So there's a chance maybe outside of our own continent that information could get out. But Agatha, and again, there's risk there, but she is one staunch ally of Malcolm Wormherder.
If we reach out to Agatha, she may know other elders that may be sympathetic towards keeping the child alive as well.
There is one other that, well, however distasteful, is Final Days knows that he will die. And although a bit fatalistic, he too may have a few that we know that we could trust. We could trust him to get this far. His redemption, as it were.
I think it makes sense to call upon the places that we have traveled, but not spent significant time. Places that we have helped, like Desert Snow. I think the Uktena are more likely to be friendly to the child, to begin with, and they view us favorably there.
I agree, we should focus on the people that we have helped before, that we know first.
So I'm going to interject real quick. The concordant just needs to be called by 5 elders. And that means elders who are in favor of killing the kid can be used. But once a concordant's been called, it means all Garu. So even if every single elder who calls a concordant is on the child's side, the protectors will come to that concordant. So I want to make sure that that's
right.
Perfectly clear.
All right.
No, and that's fair. So one of the things that I was kind of tossing around is that the protectors might agree. They might even be one of the elders that calls a concord, because like they've failed to track us down and kill us. They failed to kill the child. Like, well, if they're sure that the nation would agree with them, and they probably are, then they would likely be interested in that being a thing.
In that case, if there's enough following for the Protectors of Gaia, we need to get more allies on our side before we get the Concord to be called, which might mean reaching out to the other continents outside of North America to have allies.
I think I disagree with that fundamentally, because of the risk associated with waiting longer. Because we can try and gather the allies when they're actually like with us a lot more easily than we can when we're trying to sneak around and secretly gather allies, because we haven't called a concordant and there's no reason for the protectors to not try and kill us and the child. Once it's called, I think the child will fundamentally be safer until the decision is made, particularly because they're conservative Garu. It would be a pretty big deal, I think, to ignore that a concordant was called for this topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
You know, there might be a way to safeguard ourselves in this too, by hiding the child. The Korak spread the word and add which probably goes without saying, that for harboring the child, we would be executed. And so by making our execution part of the concordant, we're safeguarding the fact that at least we won't be killed in the open and outright.
I mean, if our death comes from harboring the child, then so be it.
This is taking the example from Wormherder of buying time.
Yeah, I think that's probably the path that Zeb was talking about, being, hey, we're going to add into the concordance topics, not only does the child live or not, but also we harbored them, so do we live or not? And if that is part of the topic of the concordance, then we will be as safe as the child is, in that it has not been decided whether we live or die, or the child lives or dies yet. And we will be as safe as the child is until the end of the concordance.
Keegan, how long do concordance take to plan?
It is at least 3 or 4 months.
Okay, so once
Because
the concordant is called,
once
it's
it's
3 or 4
called,
months?
It's 3 or 4 months because they have to send Garu, Korax, and spirits to every Karen who can heed the call and send representatives. Basically, when a concordant is called, there is a ghost or a skeleton defense of those Karens, because every Garu has to be there. So concordants are massive because they have hundreds of Garu, and because of the import of this particular concordant, it might take more so that Garu can be summoned from Europe and Asia as well as Australia, and even potentially calling back a few from the Amazon Wars in Brazil.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially, if we call the concordant as fast as possible, that gives us 4 to 6 months possibly of, like, quote-unquote breathing room, because we won't be targeted nearly as much. But once the concordant ends, and whatever the result is, then we abide by that.
Okay.
Shadow Lords. They could possibly get worms spawned to attack us in their place.
Because then this brings up another point. Because if there's vested parties that are going to be here at this concordant, would that be the time to call out Stormchaser?
No.
No.
Because this concordant is specifically for the child.
But he's an elder that might show up. An elder that a lot of people have no idea who he is, and we have a story that, no, this elder doesn't exist anymore. He was slain.
I think that we would damage our message.
Yeah.
By calling into question literally just about anything unless it was very specific to this topic.
Okay.
Just like by distracting from it, you know?
Okay, I guess that's me. Well, no, it's me presupposing some stuff that, like, the concordant went well. Oh, and by the way. So, not the time or place.
Correct.
Okay. Because that's a concern of mine, is Stormchaser getting wind of this, and he's been pretty sneaky so far about keeping a lot of things under wraps about who he is and what he's doing. What's the possibility of him being more devious and more sneaky than we actually think he is? It's kind of the, we don't know what we don't know, and there's the, we don't even know what we don't know.
He has spent a lot of time cultivating a relationship, particularly with Mark, right? So it seems likely that he would not want to throw that away by not siding with Mark, even like publicly here. It seems more likely, especially if he thought that, oh look, they have some decent arguments, like this makes sense, that he would use that to just grow closer to you.
Okay.
So that he could use you for whatever his actual goals are.
Okay, because this particular event could tie in some ropes that are loose in our story. Possibly. This is just me thinking.
Stormchaser hasn't done anything particularly bad. Not that we should wait until he does, but that compared to calling a concordant to figure out what's going to be done with the child, it seems like a smaller issue right now, though we could do things to keep an eye on that during the concordant, but not put our full focus on it.
Okay.
Like, I know he's also been doing stuff with the kinfolk too. So like, it's probably at the very least we could be like, oh hey, Storm Chaser, how are things going?
So
And
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. We could also maybe just after the concordant, before all of the elders have gone, talk to the other elders from Sacred Stone and just say, hey, weird thing we found while we were on the road. And just explain, like, apparently he died, like, however many years ago. Like, that's the person with that name died then. There's only one Gar we found who knew him. Like, and that's it. And just say that and be like, just put some thoughts there so he doesn't end up on the council or something, unless he already is.
Right, definitely. Okay. I'm less concerned now than I was at the start of this topic.
All right.
So if that's the case, we need to create the message that we're going to spread.
They'll also have to find the Korax. But
Can start with the spirits, and then email, and then do a quick journey to the Korax.
Well, if we find the Pharaoh to drop off the kid, and we can find one of the Korax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we find the Pharaoh, we find the Korax, we could drop off the kid. I'm speaking as a player, not as a character right now. We could drop off the kid, and then send the messages from elsewhere that the Pharaoh are not, because most definitely gifts of all kinds of natures from all kinds of persons are going to be used to try to track us, and better to track us somewhere else than where the Pharaoh are.
But we're going to have to figure out how all that comes down next time. Thank you to everyone who listened. Catch you in that next episode. Bye.
Bye.
See you then.
Goodbye.
Seems too good to come off mute.
I didn't
Too
realize I was on mute.
That's staying in.